Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to explore one of the most important and exciting changes in the history of literature. And so let's get started. Now, what is early modern fiction? To understand this new style, we first have to look at the timeline. Early modern fiction refers to the novels written in the early 20th century, specifically right after the First World War. Before the war, during the older Victorian period, novelists wrote about the outer world. They wrote about high society, marriages, and big events, and their stories always had a very neat, clear beginning, middle, and the end. However, after the horrors of World War I, writers felt that the world was broken and confusing. They felt that neat traditional storytelling was basically a lie because the real world wasn't neat at all. Therefore, they turned to a new movement called modernism. Instead of looking at the outer world, modernist writers decided to focus entirely on the inner world, the human mind. And to do this, they had to invent a brand new narrative technique called the stream of consciousness. Now, why did writers suddenly become so obsessed with the mind? The reason was because of science. During this time, the field of psychology was booming. Famous thinkers like Sigmund Freud introduced the idea of the unconscious mind, and Freud proved that human thoughts are not always perfectly logical or clear. Our minds are actually messy, filled with hidden memories, secret fears, and random desires. So, when writers learned this, they realized that traditional novels did not represent how humans actually think. They wanted to write books that showed the true random emotional and complex workings of the human brain. Moving on to stream of consciousness. So, what exactly does this long phrase mean? The term was originally created by famous psychologist named William James. The stream of consciousness is the continuous, non stop flow of thoughts, feelings, memories, and impressions happening inside a person's head. So, in literature, it is a writing technique where the author presents our character's inner thoughts directly to the reader without organizing them. So imagine turning on a microphone inside someone's brain and recording every single thing that pops into their head exactly as it occurs without any editing or filtering. That is the stream of consciousness. And if you are reading a stream of consciousness novel, you will notice a few very specific features. Um, like free association. This is when one random thought leads directly to another thought without any logical connection. For example, looking at a red apple makes you think of a red car, which makes you remember a road trip you took 10 years ago. And another one is interior monologue. This simply means the silent speech happening inside the character's mind. And another one is breaking the rules. Because real human thoughts do not have full stop and commas, these writers often completely broke the normal rules of grammar and punctuation. And the next is time jumping. The story moves freely between the present moment and past memories because that is exactly how our brain works. For this, you must remember the name Virginia Woolf. She is one of the absolute most important writers to ever use this technique. Okay, Virginia Woolf famously said that life is not neat straight line. Instead, she called life a luminous halo, or beautiful, glowing, continuous flow of thoughts and impressions. Her most famous example of this is her novel, Mrs. Dalloway. The entire physical plot of the book takes place in just one single day. However, because we are trapped inside the main characters' flowing thoughts and memories, we actually get to experience her entire life story. And Woolf did not care about physical action, she cared about feelings, time, and consciousness. The other giant of this movement is James Joyce. His novel Ulysses is widely considered one of the greatest and most important works of modern literature. Just like Virginia Woolf's book, Ulysses also takes place in just one single day. Joyce was a master at showing the highly complex inner thoughts of his characters. The most famous example from the book is the final chapter, which is a massive monologue, a long speech. Okay, it was by a character named Molly Bloom. Her thoughts flow continuously for pages and pages without any proper punctuation. Joyce perfectly captures how the human mind bounces between memory, observation, and desire. One of the most interesting things about early modern fiction is that nothing big really happens. There are no massive battles, murders, or dramatic events, okay? The focus is entirely on ordinary everyday life. Characters just do simple things like walking down the street, making breakfast, or talking to a friend. But here is the magic. Through the stream of consciousness technique, even the simple act of walking down the street becomes incredibly rich, complex, and exciting. The writers proved that the real drama of life does not happen on the outside. The most intense drama happens entirely inside the human mind. Okay, to understand it more, let's contrast the two periods one last time, okay? Victorian fiction, which focused on outer reality, it cared about society, a clear, straight line plot, and external events. And on the other hand, early modern fiction focused on inner reality. It cared about subjective experience, psychological depth, and inner life. The stories are complex and jump around in time. Now, why does all of this matter? The development of early modern fiction is crucial because it completely changed the form of the novel forever. Before this, books were just about telling a good story. By inventing the stream of consciousness technique, writers like Virginia Woolf and James Joyce turned the novel into a deep, realistic, and psychological map of human consciousness. So, early modern fiction represents a massive shift from traditional storytelling to deep psychological exploration. Influenced by modern science and psychology, writers created the stream of consciousness technique to accurately record the messy, beautiful flow of human thought.